be moving through a Sun Salutation, Surya Namaskar. It is an energizing flow meant to do more at the beginning of the day when you first hop out of bed, finding some space, moving through a few of these. We're connecting our breath with our movement. Before we get into that, the connecting the breath with the movement, I will break down the positions, the different positions for you. If at any point in time as I am breaking down those positions, it becomes uncomfortable for you holding them, I would invite you to come to your knees or come to a seated position. And then jump back in with us when we begin to flow. You might notice as we first begin, since we're just kind of jumping into this, this is oftentimes used as a warm-up by some. So you might notice as we first begin the back extensions, they don't feel quite as wide as you can usually get them. Maybe your forward folds don't feel quite as deep. That is perfectly fine. I would invite you to pay attention to your body and just notice if as you're moving through them, if you've done it a few times, seeing if you start to feel when your body loosens up and you can come in to those deeper back bends. And it's just a fun thing to experience in our body. So we will go ahead and begin coming to the front of our mat here, bringing our hands to our heart center. As we inhale and sending our fingertips up towards the ceiling, biceps to ears, maybe getting a little bit of a back bend here if it feels good. As we exhale, hinging at our hips, keeping our back nice and straight as we come into a forward fold. At least having that micro bend in our knees here, but also bending our knees as generously as we need to in this position. So keeping that back nice and flat until we can no longer do so, and then allowing it to round at the bottom. Bringing our fingertips or palms of our hands to the mat. As we inhale, and we'll step back with that right foot. There is the option here to either keep that back knee raised or perhaps lower that right knee to the mat. So we open up here through the chest. On our exhale, we will step that left foot back to meet the right as we send our hips up and back, coming into a downward facing dog. Some things I would invite you to pay attention to in our downward facing dog. Our heels press down towards the mat, but if they do not touch, that is perfectly fine. Also allowing for that bend in the knees if needed for comfort. We'd like to have this nice straight, flat back position here through our back. Sometimes bending the knee is enough to help us get that nice flat back position. But if you notice you're still finding that you can't quite get there, I would suggest here widening your base. So either walking the palms up a little bit or bringing your feet back slightly. Widening that base, the space between the palms of your hands and your feet might allow you to get that nice, good flat back position. As we inhale in, we'll bring our weight forward, and we can come onto our knees, onto the tops of our feet, bringing our thighs, our hips, and our belly to the mat, but keeping our chest lifted, coming into our cobra. Palms of our hands directly beneath our underarms. Our elbows are tucked in here, and our gaze is about 3 to 5 inches out in front of us. The crown of our head is lifted towards the ceiling, but we're not cranking through the back of our neck. So this is one option here, coming into the cobra. If this is where you are the most comfortable, I would invite you to stay here. Another option would be perhaps as your back begins to warm up, coming from that downward facing dog on an inhale, we can shift our weight forward and bring our hips down towards the mat, not actually to the mat, but towards the mat, coming into our upward facing dog. Either staying here with those toes curled, or we can come onto our knees and onto the tops of our feet and offering that bend in the elbows here to alleviate some of that pressure through the lower back if that feels good. If this is just not really feeling like your thing, that's perfectly fine. We have that cobra that we can go to. On our exhale, we'll melt our forehead to the mat and then send our arms out overhead. That is an option. You can keep your hands underneath your underarms if you would prefer. As we inhale in, we'll come back into either that cobra or that upward facing dog. As we exhale, we'll send our hips up and back, coming into our downward facing dog. Inhaling and stepping that right foot up, coming into that lunge, Again, offering to bring that left knee to the mat if it feels good, staying open in the chest. And as we exhale, stepping that left foot up to join the right into our forward fold. Inhaling in, rising up through that flat back position all the way to standing. Fingertips up towards the ceiling, maybe finding that little bit of a back bend. And exhale, bringing our hands to heart center. We will step or walk through this again. I will continue to cue, but we'll really focus on connecting our breath with the movement. That might mean you go a little faster or slower than me. That's perfectly fine. I invite you to feel this and make this your own. So here we go. Inhaling in, fingertips up towards the ceiling, a little bit of a back bend. Exhale, forward fold, bending the knees as much as we need, keeping that back nice and straight and rounding at the bottom. Inhaling in, stepping right foot back, coming onto that knee if we like, open through the chest. Exhale, left knee comes back to join right to downward facing dog. Inhale as we shift our weight forward and coming either into up dog or into cobra, whatever feels best. Exhale, forehead comes to mat. Perhaps arms go out overhead. Inhaling in as we come back into that cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, curling the toes, sending those hip bones up and back, downward facing dog. Inhaling and stepping forward with that right foot. Left knee can stay up or come down, open through the chest. Exhale, stepping left foot up to join right, forward fold. Inhaling as we come back up, fingertips towards the ceiling, a little back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll work through that one more time with the cues, and then we will do it once on our own. Here we go. Inhaling in, fingertips up towards ceiling, little back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, right foot steps back, open through the chest. Exhale, left foot joins right, downward facing dog. Inhale as we come into either upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, forehead comes to mat, arms out overhead if it feels right. Inhaling back to cobra, upward facing dog, and exhale to down dog. Inhale, stepping right foot up into that lunge, open in the chest. Exhale, left foot joins right, forward fold. Inhale as we come all the way back up, standing, fingertips towards ceiling, back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more time we will move through this. I will not cue it. I invite you to, again, connect your breath with your movement. Feel this practice. Feel the energy flowing as we move through it. Whenever you are ready, beginning with your hands at your heart center. If you are still moving, I invite you to continue to do so. If you are done, I invite you to continue moving through that a few times, or perhaps just coming back to standing. At this point in time, I would invite you to continue on moving through a few of these, or perhaps going on to a different yoga practice, something that would feel good for you before you carry on about your day. I would also encourage you to take that 3 to 5 minute Shavasana, that resting pose at the end once you've completed your practice for the day. That can sometimes be the most difficult part for us practicers of yoga, but it's such an important part of yoga, so I encourage you to do so. Whatever you decide to do, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.